Most of the ships were now down to their last trilithium crystal, the one that was supposed to be saved for the journey home. Quirk gave the order to continue the attack. There was to be no turning back without victory. Meanwhile, the crystals continued to drain, and there was still no sign of Chekhov. Chekhov would have to come soon with whatever he had. The tide of the battle had turned slightly, and although it would probably last many more weeks, it could definitely be said that the Federated was a bit ahead. But then the vision of disaster came. 100 Ferengi ships of unknown capabilities appeared on the scanners less than a few hours away. 100 fresh ships, an entire space navy come to finish off the Federated. "Conference call," said Quirk. "Includes Spook, Scuddy the President, Tashao and MacBoy. Emergency. We're in impossibly big trouble." "It's not fair," said MacBoy. "We were winning. Soon we won't be winning," said Quirk. "I need ideas. In fact, I need a miracle. We cannot take on the Ferengi head-to-head at this point. It's all we can do to hold out against the Klingons and the Romantans." "Jim," said Spook, "I have an idea, but it's a long shot. I've been studying the videotape blow-ups of the Klingon bridge control consoles, and I've also been deciphering their Klingon markings." "Hold it," said Jim. "Not here. We'll all meet in 10 minutes in the Enterprise briefing room." The doors closed on the meeting, wherein a remarkable but desperate plan was born. They emerged from the room neither scared nor completely confident, but happy to have any plan at all. "We'll move in sync when we get the opening," said Quirk, ending the discussion. The battle raged on, many ships on both sides being taken apart little by little, although sometimes in glorious fashion when the propulsion units blew. Hundreds of events were now happening at once. It was more than any one commander could supervise in detail, and so the action was viewed by regional commanders who were linked directly to Quirk. Meanwhile, the Ferengi menace was fast approaching. 3 Federated ships converged on a Klingon dreadnought named the Bloodwing and destroyed the forward shells that protected its bridge. This was the opening that Quirk had waited for. Before the Bloodwing could turn or compensate with its other shells, synchronized transporters on the Enterprise and the Last Frontier sent Quirk, Spook, Saluti U, and the President transporting directly onto the bridge of the Bloodwing. The President was first to materialize on the Klingon bridge. He used his Betazoid telepathy and mind control to temporarily freeze the action of the Klingon bridge crew. Shortly thereafter, Saluti U and Quirk appeared, with their phasers firing. The Klingons were still able to respond, although slowly, and the bridge soon became a maze of phaser fire. But Saluti U's and Quirk's pinpoint accuracy soon brought forth a deathly silence. Spook then materialized and immediately secured the doors to the bridge, having noted beforehand the Klingon controls for doing so. Klingon security guards soon began arriving, trying to burn through the doors to the bridge. In a matter of minutes, they would have the doors open and all hell would break loose again. The President fell to the floor, weakened by the effort required to control so many genetically strong Klingon minds. Quirk attended to him and propped him up. "He's a very old man," thought Quirk. Saluti U began to turn the Klingon ship around so that it faced away from the battle and towards the approaching Ferengi fleet. Meanwhile, Spook put all his attention on the Klingon battle panels, trying to figure out some last-minute details. Out in space, Federated ships placed a blockade between the battle and the captured Klingon dreadnought, for the Klingons on the Bloodwing had somehow gotten off a distress call. Tashao led the blockade with a portion of her fleet, staying put
even in a hail of disruptor fire. Spook was pressing buttons in a carefully controlled sequence, reading the Klingon symbols and indicators as he went, sometimes making a few educated guesses. Quark did not talk to Spook, not wishing to divert Spook's attention in any way from the urgent task at hand. Quark called for more help, and 6 more of Quark's men beamed onto the bridge. Although the last thing Quark wanted was a mini-war on the confined Klingon bridge while Spook was doing critical analysis. But he could see that the bridge doors were almost melted through now. The President also sensed the danger and was preparing to again use his Betazoid mind powers if and when the Klingons broke through the doors. "Forget it," said Quark to the President. "It will kill you." But in this case the President knew better than Jim and readied himself for the effort, saying only, "It is necessary, Jim." Then the President faltered a bit, falling back to regain his strength. The Ferengi were now within battle range and began firing long-range weapons unmercifully at the battered Federated fleet, which had to retreat a bit from the heat. Seconds seemed like hours as Jim waited and looked out of the Bloodwing's view screen at the approaching Ferengi. Then he looked past them at the stars that he loved so much, trying to capture their eternal power in his mind. Jim fought for these stars in his heart, letting their image grow bright, then transferring this strength to the President as he looked into Jim's mind. "Spook?" asked Jim. "Soon," said Spook in a tight voice that betrayed his human side. Suddenly, the bridge doors broke through and Klingons rushed onto the bridge, but were stopped in their tracks by the powerful images poured into their minds by the mental powers of the President of the Federated. "Done, Captain," said Spook as he pressed the button that launched the Klingon Deathwave weapon against a Ferengi fleet which had no defense against it. The President could hold out no more, and died in the effort of holding the Klingons at bay, his last words being, "Jim, I've reached the last frontier." Jim barked into his commophone, "Energize!" And they all disappeared into the wavering shimmer of the transpotting beam, while the Ferengi fleet was utterly destroyed by the Deathwave. "The odds are once again even, Captain," reported Spook. "The lead Ferengi have been eliminated, the remainder have run away." "Thanks, Spook. At least we have a decent chance now." The battle raged on. The war had passed the middle game. Quark made a feat broadcast giving the good news and the bad, ending with, "The President is dead. He gave his life for the Federated."